My name is Lena Hart. I'm 30 years old, and if you'd asked my family a few months ago who the problem child was, they would have said my name before you finished the sentence. Thanksgiving is proof. At my parents' house, Thanksgiving isn't a family dinner, it's a production. The dining room is lit like a stage, chandelier too bright, candles flickering for ambiance, every piece of silverware lined up like soldiers. Relatives I barely recognize laugh too loudly at jokes that aren't funny, and everyone pretends this family doesn't run on comparison and quiet humiliation. I'm 2 seats down from my older sister, Megan. Megan is the star of the show, always has been. She's in a cream colored dress that probably came with its own security detail, hair in soft waves, lipstick the exact shade influencers call nude but better. Her phone is half hidden under her napkin, screen tilted just enough so she can snap candid photos of her plate later and post something like, grateful for family and growth. If you didn't know us, you'd think she was hosting an award show, not sitting at our parents' table. Dad is at the head of the table, of course. He's been a cop for 25 years, and he carries that don't mess with me energy like part of his uniform. Even here, in a sweater and jeans, he sits like he's issuing citations instead of carving turkey. He raises his glass and looks down the table at Megan like she hung the moon herself. And then his eyes land on me. You should take notes from your sister, he says, loud enough that the cousins at the far end stop pretending to care about their phones. At least she knows how to handle her own life without handouts. The table actually claps. I'm not kidding, actual clapping. I smile. But it's that tight, practiced smile you put on before you do something you can't take back. Under the table, my fingers curl around my water glass because if I don't hold something, I might throw something. Inside my head, the math is ugly and familiar. 5 months, $1,500 a month. That's $7,500 of my handouts keeping Megan's lights on. Megan laughs, all soft and humble, like she didn't hear the knife buried in that compliment. Dad, stop, she says. Lena's doing fine. She's just figuring things out. There it is, the subtle dig, the narrative. Megan, the self-made success story. Lena, the drifting little sister who can't quite get it together. I could swallow it. I've done it before. Smile, nod, let my insides burn while everyone tells Megan how inspiring she is. But tonight, something in me snaps into focus. Maybe it's the way Dad doesn't even look at me when he says it. Maybe it's the little eye roll Megan thinks I don't see. Maybe I'm just tired. Tired of paying her rent while she sells a fantasy to everybody else. I take a slow sip of water and let him have his moment. Let the applause die down. Then I put my glass down gently and say, yeah, Dad, she's doing great. Megan's eyes flash to mine, a warning behind the smile. I guess that's why she doesn't mind the $2,500 I send her every month. It's like someone hits mute on the whole house. Forks stop midair. Chairs freeze. The football game in the living room keeps playing to no one. Megan blinks once, twice. The Instagram smile cracks. What are you talking about? She says, her voice already warming up for performance mode. She laughs, high and fake. She's delusional. Dad's eyebrows knit together. He sets his glass down slow, the same way he does before writing a ticket. What's she talking about, Megan? Everyone is watching. Aunts, uncles, cousins who only see us once a year but feel qualified to judge us forever. Megan looks directly at me, then at them. She's just jealous, she says, and I can hear the script sliding into place. She can't stand that I actually have a career. There it is, the story she wants. I lean back in my chair, feeling strangely calm. Jealous? I say. Sure. I'm jealous of all that rent money I've been sending you, every first of the month, right on schedule. Mom jumps in, voice sharp enough to cut the tension but not the truth. That's enough, Lena. Don't start something. Not today. Of course, not today. Not on the sacred holiday of pretending. Dad's glare swings to me. Listen, you don't accuse your sister of lying in front of family. Apologize. I laugh. I can't help it. Apologize for telling the truth? Megan's eyes gloss over, but there are no tears yet, just the polished tremor she uses when she wants pity. She's always trying to make me look bad, she says, voice breaking perfectly on cue. She can't stand that I worked hard and she didn't. Worked hard at what? I ask quietly. Picking filters? The silence now isn't stunned, it's angry. Dad shoves his chair back just enough to make it creak. Enough, he says. You're hurting your sister. If you can't be respectful, you can leave. I look around the table, all those relatives nodding like his word is law, like they know anything about what really happens when the family group chat goes quiet. Megan dabs the corners of her dry eyes with a napkin, the tragic heroine of her own movie. All right, I say, pushing my chair back. My heart is hammering, but my voice is steady. You want me gone? Fine. I stand. My legs feel weirdly light, like this is all happening to someone else. I walk past Megan. She doesn't look up, but I can see her throat working, the panic under the performance. I head for the front door. Behind me, the room erupts into low whispers and the clatter of dishes. Mom calls my name like I'm the one who started this fire, not the one who finally pointed at it. The cold outside hits my face like a slap. I make it halfway down the driveway before I hear heels on concrete behind me, sharp, quick, furious. You just had to do it, didn't you? Megan's voice slices through the night. No softness now, no audience to play to. I turn around slowly. The porch light throws her into harsh contrast. Perfect dress, perfect makeup, eyes burning. Yeah, I say. I guess I did. Sorry I didn't let you keep scamming the audience. She crosses her arms, jaw tight. The Megan our relatives adore is gone. This is the real one, the one I've seen in group chats and 2 a.m. phone calls. You think you're smart? She spits. You think exposing me makes you the hero? I don't care about being the hero, I say. I care about not being your ATM while you tell everyone you're self-made. Her face twitches like she can't decide whether to scream or cry. You have no idea what you've started, she says, stepping closer. Her perfume is too sweet, suffocating in the cold air. If you keep this up, I'll ruin your life. There it is, the threat, the mask completely gone. I stare at her, suddenly more tired than angry. You've been doing a pretty good job of that already, I say. The difference is I brought receipts. Her eyes narrow. For a second I see fear slip through. Then it's gone, swallowed by rage. You think you're untouchable, she whispers. You're not. Neither are you, I say. And right now, you're standing on a pretty thin layer of ice. We hold each other's gaze for a few seconds. 2 sisters, same parents, same house, completely different worlds. Then she spins on her heel and storms back toward the front door, muttering under her breath. The door slams shut behind her, muffling the chaos inside. I stand there a minute longer, letting the cold bite into my skin until my hands stop shaking. In my car, I sit in the dark for a moment, listening to my own breathing. My phone lights up with a notification. New post from Megan. Grateful for family, growth, and the people who always believe in me. Thankful. I let out a short, humorless laugh. Between the turkey, the lies, and the applause, Thanksgiving turned into a joke, and I was the only one laughing for the right reason. Driving home through empty streets, taillights blurring in the rain, I keep replaying the looks on their faces. The shock, the disgust. Not at the fact that Megan has been lying for months, but at the fact that I dared to say it out loud. It isn't even anger sitting in my chest anymore. It's disbelief. At her, at them, at myself for letting it go on this long. Megan will not take this lying down. I know that. My sister doesn't handle losing control. She claws it back, no matter who she has to shred in the process. So, yeah, that Thanksgiving blow-up, it wasn't the beginning. It was just the moment the truth finally got loud enough to hear. The real story, the one Megan's been trying to bury under filters and hashtags, started months before that dinner. So let's rewind. It started about 5 months before that Thanksgiving dinner I blew up. Back when I still thought I was just being a good sister. It was a Tuesday night, late enough that the street outside my apartment was quiet, but not late enough for real emergencies. I was at my kitchen table with my laptop open, juggling invoices and deadlines, trying to decide if I could afford to take a weekend off in December with my boyfriend, Leo. I do freelance work, design, consulting, a handful of long-term clients sprinkled with short, chaotic projects. Nothing glamorous, nothing viral, just steady enough that my bills are paid, my little savings account is growing, and I don't have to call my parents for help. My phone lit up face down on the table, vibrating nonstop like it owed someone money. Megan. I stared at her name for a second. Megan doesn't call. Megan FaceTimes, Megan voice notes, Megan DMs with 10 emojis and a caption. Actual calls mean one thing. Something's wrong, or she wants something big. I answered on the 3rd ring. Hey. All I heard was crying. Not the performative sniffle she uses on Instagram. This was ugly crying. Hiccups. Breath catching. Her voice cracked open and raw. Lena, she choked out. I don't know what to do. I'm screwed. Completely screwed. My stomach dropped. I pushed my laptop aside, pinched the bridge of my nose. Okay, slow down. What happened? They fired me, she sobbed. They said they were downsizing, cutting costs, whatever. They just let me go. No warning. I don't have anything lined up. My rent's due, my car payment. Lena, I can't do this. I can't tell Dad. He'll kill me. There it was, the center of the panic. Not I'll be homeless. Not I can't buy groceries. Not even I'm scared. I can't tell Dad. I glanced at the clock on the stove. 10:42 p.m. Leo was in the living room, half watching some documentary, half dozing. I turned my chair slightly so he couldn't see my face. What happened to the $20,000 he gave you? I asked carefully. The money from earlier this year. That emergency cushion he made such a big deal about? Silence on the line. Megan? It's gone, she said finally, voice small. Gone? How? She sniffled. I invested in myself. I closed my eyes. Megan. No, listen, she rushed. I took those marketing courses everyone raved about, and I had to upgrade my wardrobe for networking events. You can't show up in cheap suits and expect anyone to take you seriously. And I took a few trips, just to clear my head, reset, you know. I was building connections. It didn't pan out yet. In other words, she blew it trying to look successful instead of being stable. I could almost hear Dad's voice in my head. You don't play with money like that. His rules are like gravity. You don't break them unless you want to crash. Megan crashed and then tried to hide the wreckage under filters. You know Dad's going to ask where that money went eventually, I said quietly. He was watching it like a movie trailer for your future. He can't find out, she whispered. Panic cracked through every syllable. Lena, please, you know how he gets. He doesn't yell, but when he's disappointed, you can feel it in your bones. I can't be that to him. I can't be the failure. I stared at the worn edge of my kitchen table, at the unpaid invoice on my screen, at the mental math of my own rent, my groceries, my small, hard-earned peace. What do you need? I asked. Just help with rent for a couple months, Your Honor, she said fast. Maybe utilities. Just until I get back on my feet. I have applications out. I'm talking to people, I swear. I just need time. She always just needs time. Meg, I said, I'm not exactly rolling in money over here. You're doing better than me, she countered instantly. You always have things handled. You're responsible, remember? The way she said it, it sounded half compliment, half trap. I looked at the color-coded spreadsheet on my laptop. Income, expenses, a thin green line where my savings lived. Leo's voice floated in from the living room, soft, asking if I wanted tea. I waved him off. I could say no. It would be reasonable, healthy even. But I thought about Megan as a kid, clinging to Dad's arm, telling everyone she was going to make him proud. I thought about the way he lit up when she talked about her big projects, the way his face goes cold when anyone mentions failure. I'll help, I heard myself say. For a little while? Her breath hitched. You will? I can send you $1,500 a month, I said, doing the math as I spoke. It would be tight. Doable, but tight. Just until you land something new, a couple months. She started crying again, but this time it was relief. Thank you. Oh my God, Lena, you're saving me. I swear I'll pay you back. As soon as I'm steady, I'll make it right. Okay, I said, but this is temporary, Meg. I mean it. I know, I promise. Just don't tell Dad. Please. He thinks I'm doing great. I can't lose that. There it was again. The real fear. Not losing her apartment. Losing his pride in her. We hung up after a few more reassurances. I opened my banking app, set up a recurring transfer for the first of every month, labeled it simply, Rent Megan. Leo came into the kitchen, hair mussed, holding 2 mugs. Everything okay? Yeah, I lied automatically. Just Megan drama. He made a face that said of course, but he didn't push. He just set a mug in front of me and squeezed my shoulder. I leaned into that warmth for a second, memorizing how steady it felt. The first month was fine. Megan texted occasionally with updates. Had an interview today. Recruiter loved my resume. Just waiting to hear back from a few places. I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. Otherwise, I was just bleeding money into a hole she dug herself. Then, slowly, things started to feel off. Her Instagram, which had been quiet for a while, came back to life like someone flipped a switch. Brunch photos with artfully stacked pancakes and $12 lattes. Rooftop client meetings with city views. Her hand resting near a designer-looking bag. Mirror selfies in new outfits captioned, "Dress for the job you want." A white leather purse that definitely cost more than my monthly groceries. At first, I didn't say anything. Maybe she'd nailed one of those jobs. Maybe the courses finally paid off. Maybe this was what climbing out of a setback looked like for her. But the timing was wrong. One night I was in bed, scrolling half awake, when I saw it, a boomerang of her clinking glasses with friends, the caption bouncing underneath. Hard work pays off. I stared at it, thumb hovering over the screen. My banking app notification buzzed at the top a second later. Transfer scheduled. $1,500 to Megan, tomorrow. The disconnect made my stomach twist. Hard work, huh? Whose? The next morning I texted her. Hey, I think it's time to pause the transfers. You look like you're doing better now. She called me almost immediately. Lena, no, 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 she blurted. No hello. You can't stop. It just looks that way online. Everything you see is fake. Borrowed outfits, tagged locations I didn't pay for. I'm still struggling. I'm behind on bills. Please. I pinched the bridge of my nose. Megan, you literally just posted a $40 steak. That wasn't mine, she said, dead serious. I was just holding the plate for the boomerang. People do that all the time. You know that's not normal, right? I muttered. It's marketing, she said. Perception. If people think you're doing well, they take you seriously. I just need a little more time. Please, Lena, you know how strict Dad is. If he finds out I'm dead, he'll never look at me the same way again. And there it was, the guilt card. You're the only one I can trust. You know how he is. You don't want to be the reason he finds out, do you? I sat there with the phone on speaker, staring at a half-written proposal for a new client that could actually help me breathe easier. My chest felt tight, like I was choosing between being a good sister and being a responsible adult. Just a couple more months, she begged. I'm so close to landing something. I can't have everything fall apart now. I sighed, long and slow. Fine, I said. A little longer. But this can't be forever, Megan. I mean it. You're amazing, she said instantly. I swear, I'll pay you back. You won't regret this. The call ended. The transfer went through. My savings dipped a little lower. And somewhere, between her brunch photos and my bank statements, a quiet realization started to form. I wasn't helping my sister through a hard time. I was funding her illusion. I just didn't know yet how much that illusion was going to cost me. By the 4th month, the truth wasn't creeping into view anymore. It was standing in the doorway, waving a neon sign that said, "You're being played." But I still wasn't ready to admit it. At least, not out loud. It was a Friday night when things finally snapped into focus. Leo and I were supposed to have a low-key date night. Pasta, cheap wine, Netflix. Something normal, something grounding. He always tried to anchor me when my family's chaos started leaking into everything. But before I even opened the bottle, a notification lit up my phone. Megan Hart posted for the first time in a while. Another rooftop photo, another polished caption, another curated moment of someone else's money. She was sitting with friends, sunglasses perched on her head, a mimosa in one hand. Her other hand rested on a white leather bag that cost a full month of my rent. The caption shimmered beneath the photo. Real queens fix each other's crowns. I actually laughed, loudly, bitterly. Leo poked his head into the kitchen. What's funny? Nothing, I muttered, shoving the phone face down on the counter. Everything. But the universe wasn't done with me. Later that night, as I was brushing my teeth, another notification popped up. Her story. A boomerang, her clinking glasses again. Caption, hard work pays off. Hard work? I stared at the screen like it personally insulted me. Hard work? What work? The only person working hard was me, sending my money to someone who pretended her life was perfect. I opened my banking app. Another $1.85 in transfer pending. I sat on the edge of the bed, robe half-tied, heart pounding with a mix of anger and humiliation. That was the moment. The exact instant when the illusion finally cracked. I wasn't lifting her up. I wasn't helping her through a hard patch. I wasn't being a good sister. I was funding a lifestyle she never earned. Funding the photos, the outfits, the fake victories. Funding the fantasy. The next morning, I texted her. Megan, we need to talk. I think it's time to pause the transfers. This time, she didn't call. She showed up. She was at my apartment door 20 minutes later, knocking like she was the police. I opened it to see her in a blazer, hair perfect, makeup flawless. She looked like someone about to pitch a startup, not someone struggling. Lena, she said, stepping inside without waiting. Why would you send a text like that? You scared me. Scared you? I repeated. You've been living better than me for months. I'm the one who should be scared. She waved a manicured hand. Online isn't real. Everyone knows that. Those outfits were borrowed. The food wasn't mine. I'm tagging brands to get attention. That's how people get noticed. And the bag? I asked. The white leather one? She froze for a fraction of a second. Too small for a lie, too real for performance. I rented it, she said weakly. It's for content. Megan, I said quietly, You clink glasses with brunch every week. I've been paying your rent. That's networking, her voice sharpened. You don't understand this industry. Perception matters. Enough to bankrupt yourself? I shot back. Or enough to bankrupt me? Her eyes narrowed, the sweetness vanishing. You said you'd help me. You said you understood. Now you're acting like I'm some kind of leech. Are you serious? I stared at her. You're lying to everyone. Dad, Mom, your friends, your followers, and you're lying to yourself. That's not fair, she snapped. I'm trying. I have interviews. I have leads. You don't know how stressful this is. If Dad finds out I wasted his money, he'll never forgive me. You're supposed to have my back. There it was again. Not gratitude, not accountability, entitlement. My chest tightened. You said this would be a couple months. I'm close, she insisted. I swear. You said that last month, I said. And the month before that. I can't keep doing this. I'm not your ATM. Her jaw clenched. She wasn't used to being told no. Not by Dad, not by Mom, and definitely not by me. You know what your problem is, she said coldly. You love being the hero until someone actually depends on you. I blinked. I've been the one depending on? I'm paying your rent. And I'll pay you back, she barked. Why do you act like I asked you to give me a kidney? It's money. You'll survive. My voice dropped. Maybe I won't. You don't get to decide what I can handle. You don't get to guilt me because you're afraid of Dad. Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. She swallowed hard, eyes darting toward the door. Fine, she muttered, if that's how it is. Megan, I started. No, she cut in sharply. Forget it. I'll figure something out. Clearly you don't care if everything falls apart. She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I stood in the middle of my apartment, heart thudding, replaying the last 30 minutes. Guilt punched me in the chest. Not because I was wrong, because it felt like I'd betrayed someone I'd spent my whole life protecting. Leo came out from the bedroom, concern written all over his face. Everything okay? No, I said honestly. Not at all. He put a hand on my back, grounding me. Talk to me. I told him everything. The money, the calls, the manipulation, the Instagram lies. His expression hardened with each detail. Lena, he said softly, she's using you. I know, I whispered. I wanted to help. He nodded, but at some point, helping becomes enabling. I knew he was right. But knowing the truth and acting on it are two different things entirely. 2 days later, Megan called again. Voice soft, trembling, perfectly calibrated. Sis, I'm sorry. I was stressed. I didn't mean what I said. I'm just scared. She cried. She begged. She promised she'd found a promising lead. She just needed 1 more month. And I caved, again. Because for all her lies, all her manipulation, all her theatrics, I still loved her. Still felt responsible for her. Still didn't want to watch her collapse under the weight of her own choices. So I sent 1 more transfer. 1 more month. But even as I clicked confirm, something in me shifted. A quiet promise to myself. This is the last time. This ends soon. I just didn't know how soon or how violently it would end. The Monday after Thanksgiving felt eerily calm, like the air right before a storm breaks open. I told myself Megan would cool off, that she'd lick her wounds privately and move on. I should have known better, because by Tuesday morning, she'd already begun rewriting the story. The first hint came at 8:13 a.m. A text from Megan. You blindsided me in front of everyone. You made me look awful. You humiliated Mom and Dad. I didn't answer. Not because I didn't want to, but because I knew exactly where this was going. Megan wasn't looking for resolution. She was looking for a stage. You know how Dad gets. He's been calling me nonstop, asking where my money's going, asking for receipts. Are you happy now? My pulse skipped. Receipts. Dad doesn't ask for receipts unless he's already furious. I typed but didn't send. Deleted. Typed again. Deleted again. Anything I said would only feed her. So I stayed silent. Silence, apparently, was enough to set her off. By noon, she'd moved from guilt to anger. Megan's favorite emotional shortcut. You love making me look bad. You always have. You're jealous because I actually have a career. A career I paid for. But still, I didn't reply. I didn't want to engage in her twisted little monologue where she was the tragic victim and I was the villain who ruined her fairy tale. I muted the conversation. It didn't help, because the real storm didn't start in my inbox. It started somewhere I wasn't looking. 2 days later, I noticed something strange. A LinkedIn notification. Someone from Crestline Marketing viewed your profile. Then an hour later, another person from Crestline Marketing viewed your profile. Crestline, Megan's new probationary job. The job she bragged about. The job I knew she was barely hanging on to. At first, I shrugged it off. Probably coworkers snooping after Thanksgiving drama. But then Friday came. One of my clients, a reliable, low-drama, always pays-on-time client, emailed. We've decided to pause our upcoming project. We're going in a different direction. No explanation, nothing specific, just gone. I felt a cold drop in my stomach. Then, the next day, another client paused. And another. 3 in a row. The kind of pattern you can't chalk up to coincidence. Leo noticed me pacing across the kitchen. What's wrong? Megan, I said automatically, though I didn't have proof. Not yet. Leo folded his arms. What did she do? I didn't answer, because I didn't know how to say. I think my sister is sabotaging my career. The confirmation came that night. My old coworker Ben called me out of nowhere. Hey, he said awkwardly. Just wanted to ask, are you okay? I frowned. Yeah, why? He hesitated. Someone told me you've been having issues, like tax problems, maybe burnout. I don't know. Who told you that? Another long pause. Megan mentioned it at drinks, he admitted. Said she's worried about you. My throat tightened. There it was. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't accidental. It wasn't even creative. It was strategic. Megan couldn't undo Thanksgiving, so she did the next best thing. She started painting me as unstable. A jealous sister lashing out because she couldn't keep her life together. The irony was nauseating. She burned through Dad's $20,000. She burned through my money. She lied to everyone she knew. But I was the one she made look unstable. And people believed her. Of course they did. She was polished, charismatic, curated. I was quiet, busy, invisible unless someone needed something fixed. In the court of public opinion, image always wins over truth. The sabotage kept rolling. A distant cousin DM'd me. Megan said you've been having breakdowns. You might want to watch your back. Another friend messaged, Are you being investigated? Should I be worried? Investigated? I actually laughed when I read that one. It was absurd, and yet believable enough for people to question me. That's the thing about Megan's lies. They were always just close enough to the truth to stick. She didn't call me dangerous. She didn't call me unhinged. She didn't even call me unstable explicitly. She made suggestions, hints, little seeds of doubt, and she dropped them everywhere. By the following week, I was losing work left and right. Clients ghosted me. Leads dried up. She wasn't attacking me with fists. She was attacking my reputation, the one thing I'd spent years building quietly, and she was good at it. Terrifyingly good. I realized then that Megan wasn't reacting to what happened at Thanksgiving. She was retaliating. She was rewriting the story behind my back, twisting every detail, building a narrative where she was the wounded hero and I was the jealous, unhinged sister trying to tear her down. And she was doing it with the same skill she used to craft her influencer persona. If she'd put even a fraction of this effort into a real job, she could have built an empire. But no, she'd rather burn mine down. I could have confronted her. I could have screamed, cried, demanded answers. But I didn't. Instead, I did the one thing Megan never expected. I got quiet, focused, methodical. Because I grew up in the same house she did, under the same cop father. And Dad always had a saying, if you're right, prove it. So that's exactly what I did. I spent the next morning compiling everything. Every Venmo transfer labeled utilities. Every bank statement showing rent, Megan. Every text where she said, you're saving me or I'll pay you back. Every screenshot of Instagram posts where she bragged about being self-made while my money paid her bills. When I laid it all out in one clean PDF, it didn't look like generosity anymore. It looked like a pattern. A months-long financial dependency wrapped in lies. I opened an email, attached the file, entered 2 recipients, Mom, Dad. No subject line, no explanation. Just the proof. I hovered over send for 3 seconds. Then clicked. My hand shook, but my chest felt light, almost free. I didn't hear back for nearly a full day. Not a text, not a call, not a passive-aggressive message, nothing. Until 8:04 p.m. Dad's name appeared on my phone. One text. 8 words. She'll see what lying will do to her. For the first time in years, Dad wasn't protecting her. He wasn't dismissing me. He wasn't lecturing me. He was angry, but not at me. At her. It felt like the ground shifted under my feet, but the moment was brief, because anger, even directed at the right person, doesn't fix decades of family dysfunction. And Megan doesn't lose quietly. She wasn't done, not even close. The next afternoon, someone started pounding on my apartment door like they were trying to break it down. Not knocking, not tapping. Pounding. I froze halfway through pouring tea, my stomach tightening. Leo looked up from the couch, eyebrows knitting together. Expecting someone? He asked. No, I whispered. But I already knew. Only one person hits a door like that, someone who thinks they own the world behind it. I walked to the peephole, peeked, and felt a mix of dread and inevitability wash over me. Megan, in full costume, hair sleek, blazer sharp, makeup flawless, but her face was blotchy, eyes puffy, jaw clenched tight enough to crack teeth. I opened the door halfway and leaned on the frame. "What do you want?" "You sent them those statements?" she snapped. No hello, no warm-up, straight to the attack. "Yes," I said simply. "You had no right." "I had every right," I said. "I paid for half the things in those statements." She let out a harsh, incredulous laugh, the kind someone uses when they've run out of excuses and are trying to pivot back to rage. "You went too far, Lena. You didn't just embarrass me. You destroyed me." "Funny," I said, voice calm, even though my pulse was a drumbeat in my ears. "That seems to be your hobby." Her hand flew up, not to hit me, but to point a trembling finger at my chest. "You think you're smart? You think this makes you look like some righteous truth-teller? You have no idea what I can do." I held her gaze. "You already tried. Didn't work." Her lip twitched, that telltale sign that she was close to losing control. And she hated losing control. She stepped closer, too close. "You'll regret this," she hissed. But I didn't flinch. Not this time. Not anymore. Her mask faltered, just for a second. Then she spun around, heels hammering down the hallway like gunshots. The elevator door slammed shut behind her, and I finally breathed. Leo appeared behind me. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said. "I think she's finally unraveling." He touched my shoulder. "I'm here. Whatever she tries, we'll deal with it." At the time, I believed him. I didn't realize Megan was already setting up the next strike. And she wasn't aiming at me this time. She was aiming at him. A few hours later, someone knocked again. Softly this time. I opened the door, expecting round two. Maybe Megan coming back with tears instead of claws. But it was Mom. She stood there holding a grocery bag like a peace offering. "I brought leftovers," she said, voice thin. I stepped aside and she slipped in, setting the bag on the counter without meeting my eyes. She didn't sit, she just stood there, hands fidgeting. "I saw the statements," she finally said. I didn't respond. "I saw everything," Mom whispered. "Your father, he's furious. I've never seen him like this with her." She swallowed hard. "He said some things I'm not going to repeat." For a moment it felt like justice. Then Mom added quietly, "She told us she was helping you." I blinked. "What?" Mom nodded slowly. "She said you were struggling, that she'd been sending you money, that you were embarrassed to admit it." My stomach dropped. She said, "You made up that story to make yourself look better." I griped the back of a chair. "And you believed her?" Mom winced. "We didn't have any reason not to. She's always been..." "Convincing?" I finished. Mom closed her eyes. Yes, there it was. The truth I knew, but hated hearing out loud. Megan didn't just lie to protect herself. She lied to rewrite me. Rewrite who I was. Rewrite my reputation in our family. Rewrite the family story so she was always the one saving, helping, rescuing, while I was the mess. Mom sat at my kitchen table, shoulders slumping. "Your father is disappointed. Deeply. But you need to stay away from her for a while. Let her deal with this on her own." "I plan to," I said. Mom nodded, squeezed my hand once, then left. The moment the door closed, everything hit me at once. Megan had been lying for months. To everyone. About everything. And she'd been lying about me. Not just taking my money. Not just living off my savings. She'd twisted the story so thoroughly that I was the unstable one. The irresponsible one. The draining one. While she was the saint. I wasn't even angry. Not yet. Just numb. Another week passed. Clients slowly returned. The chaos quieted. Life tilted back toward normal. I found a full-time job that offered stability. A paycheck I didn't have to chase. Security that Megan couldn't sabotage. For the first time in months, I felt like the ground under my feet wasn't going to disappear. Then, on a Wednesday night, Leo showed up at my apartment looking like someone had punched him in the chest. He tossed his phone onto the table. "Lena," he said tightly, "what is this?" I looked down. A message thread. Screenshots. Photos. Edited audio files. Fake conversations. A picture of me at a cafe with a client, a female client, cropped to look romantic. Another photo, years old, with a girl from college. A caption under one read, "You said you love me. You told me not to tell Leo." My blood ran cold. "Let me guess," I said. The account sending these had no profile picture and was named something like MH or a non-supporter. Leo's eyes narrowed. "You're saying this is Megan?" "I'm saying it's definitely Megan." He didn't look fully convinced yet. So I hit play on the voice note that was attached. My stomach dropped. It was my voice. Except it wasn't. The recording said, "You know I can't tell Leo. I don't want him to find out." Except the sentences were choppy. The tone didn't match. The breathing was wrong. It was edited, spliced, stitched together from old voice notes I'd sent Megan months ago about completely different things. Leo's face went stiff. "She faked your voice?" "Yes," I said. "And the screenshots? All taken out of context." And then I did what I always have to do when dealing with Megan. I pulled out proof. Bank transfers. Time-stamped receipts. Her texts thanking me. Her threats. "If you keep this up, I'll ruin your life." All of it. And Leo watched it all in silence. Minutes passed. Then he exhaled slowly and leaned back in his chair. "She really did all this because you told the truth?" he asked. "Yes," I said, "because the truth cost her followers, her brand, her image." He nodded once, jaw working. Then, without hesitation, he opened his phone, blocked Megan on every platform, deleted her number, turned off message requests. When he was done, he looked at me and said, "I don't want her name mentioned in this house again." My throat tightened. Fine by me. Because honestly, I was done mentioning her too. For the first time in years, Megan no longer had a backstage pass to my life. But she still wasn't finished. She had one last eruption waiting. And it was bigger than anything she'd done before. If Megan had been a volcano those first few weeks after Thanksgiving, what came next was the ashfall. Slow, steady, suffocating. The kind of downfall you don't notice until the whole landscape is covered and it's too late to dig yourself out. For a while, she went quiet, which, if you know someone like Megan, is the worst possible sign. People like her don't go quiet because they've reflected. They go quiet because they're strategizing. So I was prepared for another attack. Another lie, another narrative shift, another carefully edited truth. But instead, life started crumbling around her without me lifting a finger. It began with a phone call from Mom. Her voice was hushed, like she was leaking classified government secrets. "Your sister got fired." I sat up straight. "From Crestline?" "Yes." I heard voices in the background. Dad pacing, something clattering, Mom shushing. The kind of household meltdown we hadn't seen since we were kids. "What happened?" I asked. Mom sighed heavily. Her boss said there were inconsistencies in her paperwork, something about her employment status not matching her reported job duties. Translation: Megan lied on her application, or lied about her role, or lied to maintain her persona at work. Pick one, or all of them. Either way, she was done. "And that's not all," Mom whispered, voice tightening. "Her landlord has been calling. She hasn't paid rent in 2 months." I pinched the bridge of my nose. 2 months, meaning she'd already burned through the money I stopped sending. "She's behind on everything," Mom continued. "She said she's been too stressed to manage bills." Her tone wasn't cold. It was defeated. For the first time, my mother realized I wasn't the dramatic one. I wasn't the jealous one. I wasn't the unstable one. I was the only one who had been telling the truth. And she just sounded tired. "Let her handle it," I said quietly. "She made this mess." "I know," Mom whispered. "I know that now." It felt surreal. For years, Megan's lies moved through the family, unnoticed, unchallenged. Now they were collapsing all at once, like a domino chain I didn't even have to push. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel responsible for catching them. The fallout didn't end there. My Aunt Linda, Megan's loudest cheerleader, the first person to clap for the golden child, texted me, "I owe you an apology. I should have believed you. If I'd known she was taking advantage of you, I'm so sorry." I stared at the message for a long time, not because I wanted her apology, but because it hit me how many people Megan had fooled. How many believed she was the struggling saint helping her poor younger sister? How many cast me as the jealous problem? I typed back, "Better late than never." And then I did something I regretted almost immediately. I opened Instagram. Her account was still up, but it wasn't the curated masterpiece it used to be. Half her posts were gone, deleted. The comments on the remaining ones were limited. Her captions had shifted from confident to unsettling. Sometimes you lose everything before you find peace. People change. I'm learning who's real. Starting over, again. They were the kind of cryptic, dramatic hints she used to get sympathy, a digital self-hug for her audience. But even those weren't getting likes. Her engagement had plummeted. The influencer shine was slipping. She wasn't controlling the story anymore. Life was. Then came the hacking. It was a Thursday morning, early enough that my brain still felt half asleep, when I got the first email. Unusual login attempt detected. It listed the city, the same city Megan had been tagging in her stories. My stomach dropped. Another alert came 15 minutes later. Then a third. All attempts aimed at one of my old freelance accounts, the one she knew I used for secure client files. Are you kidding me? I muttered. She wasn't just spiraling. She was getting sloppy and dangerous. I changed every password, activated two-factor authentication on everything. Email, bank accounts, cloud storage, even my grocery app. Leo watched me from the doorway, his coffee forgotten. What's going on? He asked. She tried to break into my accounts, I said flatly. Again. He swore under his breath. She's desperate. Yeah, I said. And desperation makes her reckless. Mom called again that night. This time she didn't even try to hide how shaken she was. Your father talked to Megan, she said, about the money he gave her. I held my breath. Mom exhaled. He's demanding it back. I blinked. All 20,000? Yes, she said. Within 6 months, or she's out of the will. Silence. I had never, not once, seen my dad hold Megan accountable before. Then there's the car, Mom continued. He took it back. I laughed in disbelief. He took the car? It was in his name, she said. He told her, if you can't pay for it, you don't get to keep it. Leo overheard and mouthed, holy shit. Yeah, holy shit indeed. Megan's world wasn't falling apart. It was folding in on itself, collapsing under the weight of her own lies. No more job, no more car, no more nice apartment, no more audience. And for the first time, no one, not Dad, not Mom, not me, was catching her. That night, at 2:06 a.m., my phone buzzed on my nightstand. A message from Megan. Just 2 words. Happy now? I sat up in bed, staring at the screen. I could almost hear her voice in it, accusatory, wounded, demanding sympathy for the consequences she created. She didn't say, I'm sorry. She didn't say, you were right. She didn't say, I messed up. She said, happy now? As if I'd been waiting for her to crash. I typed slowly. I never wanted you to fall apart. I wanted you to stop lying. I didn't hit send. Not yet. Instead, I added one more line. If you try another lie, another hack, another smear, I will expose everything, completely. I'm done being quiet. Send. Delivered. Read. No reply. And for the first time in months, silence from Megan actually felt peaceful. Not because she'd given up, but because I had. I wasn't scared of her anymore. And without fear feeding her, her empire didn't just crack. It dissolved. The following weeks were quiet. Scarily quiet. Until one Friday night at 9 p.m., 3 gentle knocks came at my door. 3. Not the angry pounding from before. Not the frantic tapping of panic. Just 3 soft, tired taps. I checked the peephole and didn't recognize her. Not at first. No makeup, no perfect hair, no fancy clothes, just Megan. In an old hoodie, messy bun, jeans that weren't designer this time. Just my sister. Just human. She wasn't there to threaten me, or blame me, or rewrite anything. She was there because she finally had nothing left to stand on. And what she said next was the first honest thing I'd heard from her in years. I opened the door only halfway, not out of fear, but out of caution. Boundaries I should have set years ago were finally firm, and I wasn't ready to let her slip past them again. Megan stood there in the hallway, hands shoved into the sleeves of an old hoodie, shoulders slightly curled inward. For once, she didn't look like she was about to deliver a monologue to her imaginary camera crew. She looked small, tired, human. You're either here to confess, I said softly, or to steal my Wi-Fi. Which is it? A weak breath of a laugh escaped her, but it wasn't her typical dramatic Hollywood chuckle. It was thin, shaky, almost embarrassed. Confess, she whispered. I didn't move aside, so she didn't try to step in. She just stood there, eyes flicking between mine and the apartment floor, like she couldn't decide whether to plead or run. I'm not here to fight, she said, voice barely above a whisper. I'm not here to blame you. I know what you think, and you're right. That alone nearly knocked the air out of me. Megan, saying I was right, in a sentence, without choking. She took a breath, shaky, uneven, like she'd been practicing it in the mirror. It's all gone, she said. The job, the car, the apartment, everything. My fingers curled around the edge of the door. I'm staying on a friend's couch. I owe rent. I owe bills. I can't even afford groceries. I thought I hit rock bottom before, but I think this is it. She looked up then, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't see manipulation. I saw someone who'd run out of lies, out of excuses, out of the illusion she'd built her life around. I didn't say anything. I didn't rescue her, didn't offer comfort, didn't jump in to make it better. I just waited. She swallowed hard. I lied to everyone, to Mom, to Dad, to my friends, about the job, the money, the lifestyle. A bitter little laugh. About those stupid brunches. She wiped her nose on her sleeve. And I lied about you. I told people you were jealous, that you were struggling and I was helping you, that you made up the money transfers to look better. My throat tightened. She blinked fast. I knew they'd believe me, because they always do. I knew Dad would take my side because he always does. I knew everyone would see you as the dramatic one. She closed her eyes. A tear slipped out, but she didn't wipe it dramatically like she used to, didn't angle her face like a camera might catch it. She just let it fall. You didn't deserve that, she whispered. Not any of it. You helped me. You saved me for months, and I made you look like the crazy one. I hurt you. I went after your work, your relationship, your reputation, and you didn't deserve any of it. Another breath. Lena, I'm sorry. Not the performance kind. Not the kind laced with an excuse. Not the, I'm sorry you feel that way. Just, I'm sorry. Raw, bare, real. It wasn't enough to fix everything, but it was enough to be real. I nodded once. Good, I said quietly. It's about time you said that. Her lips trembled, and she looked at me the way someone looks at the first light after a long tunnel, hopeful but afraid to trust it. We stood there in silence. No yelling, no accusations. Just two women who grew up in the same house but lived in completely different worlds. Call me tomorrow, I said. Not come in. Not let's fix it right now. Just a small step. Firm but gentle. Her eyes widened a little. Tomorrow? Yeah, I said. Tomorrow. We'll talk. She nodded, wiped her eyes, and stepped back. Okay. Then she turned and walked down the hallway, shoulders slumped. Not in defeat, but in exhaustion. Like she'd finally stopped trying to stand taller than she was. When the door closed, I didn't feel triumphant, or satisfied, or vindicated. I felt done. The kind of done that settles in your bones. The kind that says, you don't have to carry this anymore. The next morning, someone else knocked. Not 3 hesitant taps. 1 solid knock. Dad, my father never comes over unannounced. Not for birthdays, not for holidays, not even when I moved apartments. He stood in the doorway like a man rehearsing a speech he didn't want to give. His shoulders were stiff, hands tucked behind his back. She told me everything, he said. I didn't answer. I waited. He exhaled, the sound heavy. I owe you an apology. My eyebrows lifted. Dad does not apologize. Not to anyone. Especially not to his daughters. I should have believed you, he continued, from the start. I should have seen what she was doing. I was too busy protecting her image to see her actions. Yeah, I said quietly. That sounds right. He shot me a look, the classic dad warning of don't push your luck, but there wasn't real heat behind it. You did the right thing, he said, but you also enabled her for too long. You kept sending her money when it wasn't your responsibility. I nodded. I know. I didn't want to see her crash. You didn't help her avoid the crash, he said. You delayed it. That's not helping. I didn't argue. He was right. He rubbed a hand across his jaw. She's on her own now. I'm not bailing her out. She needs to learn to live without lies. Good, I said. She needs that. He nodded once, then softer. I'm proud of you. The words hit harder than any insult ever had. Not for exposing her, he clarified. For finally standing your ground. I swallowed hard. Thanks. He didn't hug me. We're not that kind of family. But he squeezed my shoulder once, firm, steady, then left. The door clicked shut behind him, and suddenly the apartment felt lighter. Different! Like the air was finally clear after years of smoke. I sat on the couch and stared at the same door Megan had walked through the night before. Somewhere out there, she was on someone's couch, maybe replaying every lie she'd told, every consequence she now had to face alone. I didn't forgive her. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But for the first time, it wasn't my burden. I wasn't the fixer. I wasn't the safety net. I wasn't the quiet sister holding the house of cards together. I was just Lena. And for once, that was enough.